very good of you.
Not at all.
And it's been great having you on the thing. And so, you know, Doug, I'm sure is online, so you can ping him via the chat if you want to pass him your resume or get some advice. I'm sure he'll be happy to help. And so, yeah, so next up, we have Jennifer Stott. And I'm very excited by this because the talk's name is Let Go of Perfect. Jennifer is the head of design at Epsy, a digital health management platform that, you know, empowers people who live with epilepsy, their caregivers and healthcare professionals to accelerate the path towards improved outcomes. So if ever there was a valuable line of work, it's got to be this. Some interesting facts about Jennifer is that she's been known to faint at the sight of blood. She joined the medical industry after working for 10 years on B2B and B2C products. And she also has a past life in advertising. And yeah, and I think she's motivated by bringing together medtech and design and has a deep appreciation and philosophy of design. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to your presentation, and you feel free if you have slides to screen share. Great.
Thanks, Ed. Hello, I'm Jennifer Stott, and I'm the head of design at Epsy, as Ed said. You may not have heard of us yet because we have started out in the US. We are an app that helps people with epilepsy and their doctors. I became a designer because I want to make experiences better for people, the best, in fact. And during my career, I've been known to sometimes take this a little bit too far. So today, I'm going to talk about my journey of perfectionism and how I learned the hard way on when to pursue perfection and when to let it go. Growing up, on Saturday mornings, my two younger siblings and I would make pancakes. We'd jump out of bed early, race to the kitchen, and over the years, we'd mastered all but one thing. For those of you who have made pancakes, you'll know what I'm talking about. No matter who manned the pan, the first pancake always turned out a mess. I actually made this pancake. One morning, as always, my siblings and I were sharing out the first pancake, kind of looked like this one, and my little brother told me that it reminded him of me. "You're the first pancake," he said. "You were the disaster before us perfect children came along." Sometimes the things that people say can just stick, right? This stuck. But I decided to rise above this, to prove him wrong. From that moment onwards, I would drive to be perfect in everything that I do. Turns out, it's not just me. American psychologist Tavy Kaler identified 5 drivers. The drivers are: be perfect, hurry up, be strong, try hard, and please others. You might have 1 or 2 screaming at you right now. Drivers motivate each of us, but they're also likely to work against us in times of stress. And they're formed early on, like say as a child, when your siblings were taunting you about being the first pancake. So they're rooted in our subconscious, which basically means you can't help it. No, don't worry, that's not actually true. The idea is that if you can recognize your natural drivers, you can also recognize when they're taking control. So you can instead consciously challenge yourself in your response, ultimately leading you to be happier. Drivers shape us not just in our personal lives, but also at work. It certainly drove me in my career. But I want to tell you about a time when it worked against me. I want to tell you about Project Sadness. Years ago, our team was working on a top user requested feature. And because at this point we were miles ahead of development, we decided to spend a lot of time in the design phase. So we empathized, we defined, we ideated, we prototyped, we came up with some great solutions. And to test them, we went on this journey around the office, showing many people on the design and the engineering and product teams, and invited them to give us more ideas to make it even better. But then to satisfy all those ideas, we got really precious about making it perfect. And then we began to hold on to the ideas that we loved. And then we started disagreeing on the different solutions. And then we got confused. And at some point, we even asked ourselves, why are we doing this anyway? And then we got sad. and no one wanted to work on the feature anymore. Everyone was demotivated. I saw it in the slumped shoulders of my team lethargically arriving at work, in the amount of extra sugars required in post-lunch coffees. And if I missed all that, I did not miss when people openly referred to the feature as Project Sadness. I was so disappointed I ever let it get to that. But how did this happen? A team of super smart designers all driving to do the right thing for our users. What's wrong with that? It was because of that. Can you guess what most of us on the team were driven by? Yep, we all wanted it to be perfect. Apparently, be perfect people draw energy from doing the right thing. It makes sense then why so many designers are perfectionists. You became a designer to improve people's experiences in the world, right? To do the right thing for people. But on your quest to do the right thing, you also tend to set unrealistic standards, which means you will never be right, which means you will never be happy. And don't you deserve to be happy after all the good that you're trying to do for others, product people? What designers also tend to do is hold on to our work until we feel like it's perfect, based on our unrealistic standards. Had we just put this project in front of real users early, we could have spared ourselves all of the pain of it turning into Project Sadness. And then we could have moved on to create the next pancake, which is always better. My brother is actually here today, and I'm pretty sure he's going to quote me on that forever. But no. Instead, on Project Sadness, we just threw more and more UI spice into it, and we held on. So all we ended up with was an overdone, burnt first pancake. You see, we actually needed that first pancake out there in its imperfect form to ask our audience what they loved or hated about it, so we can make it better based on that. We learned our lesson. We never did that again. And I finally understood that what I was avoiding my whole life, imperfection, was unavoidable. It's okay to have an imperfect step along the way. Actually, it's required, because being imperfect is a step to being perfect. So while perfectionism can serve us as a goal, it can also hold us back. But how can you make sure that you use your driver as a strength and not let it hold you back? Here's how I, as a perfectionist, divide my world to decide what goes into the first pancake and what I save for perfecting later. I ask, what matters now and what doesn't? It's that simple. What matters now is all that should go into your first pancake. I'll tell you about what matters for us at Epsy. I want you to imagine that you are 20 years old and you want to be a doctor. You have epilepsy and you live in full-time care. Your neurologist has told you that because your seizures are so severe, your dream of being a doctor is impossible. You only have 15 minutes with your neurologist every 3 to 6 months. 15 minutes. That's how much time I have for this talk today. And between those appointments, so much can change. You might get more seizures, discover more triggers, and maybe notice more side effects from the 2 or 3 drugs that you're on. And epilepsy is so different for every patient that it's extremely difficult for your neurologist too. It's no wonder they haven't found the right treatment for you yet. And unfortunately, because of all these factors, the right treatment or control from seizures can take up to 40 years for people like you to achieve. Sadly, we hear stories like this every day. At Epsy, we aim to shorten the path to optimal treatment for everyone living with epilepsy. So we're always looking for ways to bring the latest innovation to them, however big or small. Let me tell you about a happy project. A few months ago, when Apple announced which features would be released with iOS 14, we got down to brainstorming in my favorite collaboration tool, Miro. We managed to do something that's highly unrecommended in brainstorming rules. We got all 16 members of the team contributing equally in this round robin that you see over here. So we had many ideas, and some were way too big. But there was something that we could squeeze into this quarter that we could build as a side project to release with iOS 14, bringing our patients a tiny step closer to the innovation that they deserve. A widget. Now available on your home screen, it's like a window into our app where we can display a small amount of timely, personally relevant information to you. And we have a very strong user problem that we wanted to solve using widgets. Many people with epilepsy have memory problems because it affects the same part of the brain. So they need help in remembering their medication. What if we could help more of our users remember to take more of their meds and create long-lasting positive habits? Driven by this goal, we continued to rally together as a full team. First, the designers had a design off. And then we held wider team reviews, inviting feedback and challenges on how it could be even better. More ideas came in from everyone, and they kept coming. And I know what you're thinking. Oh no, it's happening again. But don't worry, the deep burn of Project Sadness was still with me. And thanks to a few hurry-up teammates, we decided to let it outside of our circle early and set it free to user testing. It passed testing. It sped through development. We almost had a minor hiccup when Apple released iOS 14 earlier than expected. But we let it go. And here is our widget. We were able to do this quickly because we decide what matters at the beginning of projects when we're setting goals. Our goals need to align to our company vision and mission, a life where each day is brighter than the last. They need to meet our team values, and this is where having a range of drivers on our team helps us. And of course, at the core, our goals need to serve our users. We write acceptance criteria for each project to make sure we do. And you can do this for each of your projects. Define what matters now for you. Start by writing your list of what matters now. It should focus on what matters to your company, your team, and your users. And do this first. This is important. Agreeing on this before each project will help and align and focus your energy from the beginning. What perfectionists tend to do also is not consider what the consequences really are. How bad is it really? Should we be obsessing over all those small things that we do? Our first version of widgets was not perfect. And actually, the developers purposefully crept it past design QA because they knew we would send it back looking like this. And actually, I was okay that it skipped design QA this time. Please don't take that as a recommendation to skip design QA. And it's definitely not okay to be reckless or to sacrifice a user's safety. That's always in our What Matters Now list. But these were the perfection blockers that could have held us back if we let them get in the way. If we release it now, will we hurt anyone? Besides my design eyes when I notice that strange center alignment? No. If we let our subconscious drivers of be perfect stress us out, will we be living happier lives? No. And is a week's worth of QA design changes worth a week of not helping our patients remember to take their medication on time? No. In medtech, time is critical. It's critical because it costs lives. But it matters in all tech too. If we're too afraid to release the first pancake just because we want it to be perfect, it will take much longer to get into the hands of people who need it now. Being safely imperfect is what users need. As soon as our first widget pancake was released, we got started on the design QA list because it will be pixel perfect. And we're building out all the cases for our idea iterations based on what we hear from users. We're always listening to them on how we can be better. And it's great to hear when we're doing that. You can also define what doesn't matter to you now. Start by writing your doesn't matter now list. Let go of perfectionism in your as potential blockers. Don't let be perfect or any other drivers take over as stressors. If they do, you'll waste energy on the things that don't matter and you'll get burned. And safety comes first. As long as your work isn't hurting anyone and it's better than what your users have now, it doesn't matter. So, to recap, how can you release your first pancake? Number 1, understand your drivers. Number 2, release only what matters. And number 3, ignore what doesn't. So if you've got what matters now, release it, because it's better than what's not out there now. Your list of what matters will change with every new iteration that you create because you'll learn with each one and the now will change. I want to leave you with one last thought. Remember this? Aaron Levy said, does it better will always beat did it first. Why not do both? I say, do it first, then do it better first. Let go of perfect in your first release, then keep the heat on and keep making it better. And if you want to make pancakes with us at Epsy, we are hiring. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Jennifer. That an inspirational talk, and I think this is a challenge that you can never stop reminding yourself of, isn't it? Daring to move before perfection is achieved. So thank you so much. And I think that are you going to be around Sparkle for a little while, so people who are looking for the next inspirational job can get in touch directly?
Exactly, yes. Just message me directly.
So yeah, message Jennifer directly and get a wonderful new job potentially. How exciting! Great. Well, you know what, we're actually running ahead of schedule, which might seem almost